my goodness, folks, what's up? This is Michael. I'm at the Cary community tonight, folks. I'm roving around town. Usually at North Hills, but tonight I'm in Cary. But nevertheless, I'm still wide awake in the wee hours of the night. With your daily trivia question. Once again, check it out. I hope everybody's week has been well and productive and all that good stuff. Get a little rain this weekend, but nonetheless, enjoy yourself. It's Super Bowl weekend, so if you get some downtime, enjoy the game. I had to be told that it was Super Bowl weekend. That's how out of it I am with sports. But anyways, nonetheless, I digress. The answer to the previous trivia question was decency. Great trivia question. Great to research this kind of stuff. What is your definition of decency, right? That's kind of what it all boils down to. So the bottom line aspect of the Communications Decency Act of 1996, which was featured in the trivia question, also known as CDA for short, thank goodness, was that it proved to be Congress's first noble attempt to regulate pornographic material on the internet. So let's put things in perspective. Remember, this is 1996, right? We are well into the so-called .com era, but it's still kind of new uncharted territory, right? I'm old enough to remember this. I don't know if you are or not, but in 1996, by 1996, it was a free-for-all, folks. You think it's bad now, right? In 96, you could still do anything. And in those kind of terms, when you look at it like that, not much has changed. There's been a lot that's changed, but not much has changed, right? So it's kind of uncharted territory. The internet, the .com era, so to speak, out there in the wild world of the web, okay? So as with any act that makes its way through Congress, there were all kinds of sections and different titles and different statutes and so forth in what would eventually become the CDA, the Communications Decency Act. Title V was part of the CDA. And this, for instance, affected the internet and online communications for the first time, and attempted to regulate and essentially establish what the standards were for both indecency and obscenity in cyberspace. This was geared towards children, primarily due to a fear that online pornography was on the rise and children were accessing it. Now, when you get into this, when you get into what constitutes or define what is the definition of something like decency and obscenity, it gets messy and legal real quick. So what this tapped into basically was a long-standing legal and social argument and debate about what is and what is not obscene or decent or indecent, and who has the right to decide this, right? This has been going on forever, but it was kind of like I said, as the internet was in and of itself, it was uncharted territory, right? Remember the old Supreme Court justice who said, "I know it when I see it," when it came to obscenity. Freedom of speech, basically, is what it boiled down to. TV and other media and press advertising had long been regulated by the government. We're talking about you couldn't smoke on TV anymore. You could advertise alcohol, but you couldn't drink. Okay, there was no violence in the daytime, no violent shows in the daytime. All of those had to be shown at night because kids would see them and so forth. All this was regulated by the government, and in some Congress minds of the politicians, it should be regulated. The internet should be regulated equally, just as much. Okay, so the rule or this is fascinating stuff, folks, when you break it down. So the rule or standard of the act basically left the decision as to what was obscene or terms that were patently offensive to be, quote, measured by contemporary community standards. That's taking it, those are just word for word, straight out of the title, okay? So the act further imposed criminal sanctions against anyone who violated this rule, okay? So now you got people who want to establish this act and establish this rule as far as what is decency and what is decent and obscene. And then you got others who are against this. So now you got a really good fight on your hands, right? Good legal fight on your hands. The problem with trying to regulate decency is that one person's, as you can imagine, one person or one community's version of what is decent may not be another's person or community's version of what is indecent. And this debate has never really reached over into the aspect of the online world until prior to this time. So this was new. This was a new fight people were, and it was big news, folks. It was all over. This has since been debated to death by scholars, politicians, psychologists, media moguls, talking heads, trivia and debate nerds like myself, right? And even the porn industry has voiced its its opinion on these matters. Like, what is decency? What is decent porn? How do you do that? I don't know, folks. But anyways, listen, free speech advocates, critics, civil liberty organizations all went to work almost immediately to challenge and overturn the portion specifically related to what is decent, what is indecent. They all claimed that the bill would have a chilling effect on the availability of things like medical information, free speech, classic and even new books, for instance, that would be reprinted in an online manner. They were thinking about all this stuff while Congress and politicians were thinking about limiting, access to the internet and what is decent, what is indecent and obscene. Okay, so it went in all kinds of different directions. They all claimed the bill would again have a chilling effect on the availability of certain information. All kind of protests were organized thereafter, even online protests where webmasters were encouraged to make their sites background black for 48 hours after its passage. I remember when that happened as well. So this was all over the news media. The Supreme Court, eventually, as you can imagine, it made its way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court struck down, hardly even a year later, struck down this act by way of a federal court in Philadelphia, stating in their reasoning that indecency provisions were unconstitutional abridgment of the First Amendment. Basically, at that time, the Supreme Court said the internet is free speech, and the act did not carefully define the words indecent and offensive. The High Court also alluded to, quite frankly, letting parents decide these issues in the privacy of one's home. Now, that was referenced in their decision. Section 230 is worth mentioning. Section 230 of the Act, which was added later, passed by a unanimous vote by adding protection for online service providers and users from actions against them based on third-party content. Effectively, it protected internet users from liability or torts for others who commit crimes on their website or other online forums. Okay, so Section 230 is one of the only parts of the CDA that is still active and on the books. This debate about online decency continues and probably will be for the rest of our lives. The internet is a strange kind of open, free type of a area, place, a market, all of those things. And again, it's like one of the last final kind of free areas that people are trying desperately. Some people are trying desperately to regulate, for sure. And this, like I said, this debate will probably continue for a long time to come. All right, folks, enough talk about obscene and decency and all that good stuff. My goodness gracious. Let's get to the weekend. Let's have some fun. And let's kick off the weekend with a brand new trivia question for February 11th. Here we go. Having first appeared in Pep Comics, this comic book character became so popular that his very own series debuted on this day in 1942, despite his long-standing love triangle between Betty and Veronica. Who is this guy? You guys go have some fun this weekend. Take care of each other. I'll see y'all next time. Peace out, y'all.